Throw Joe Hendry in there. He should have an action figure since he's never going to have a world championship.
Matt Aguilar here from ComicBook.com, and today I have the pleasure of speaking to TNA's walking weapon, Josh Alexander. How are you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Let's talk some TNA.
I know it's man, you got a lot going on this past few weeks. Let's start with Slammiversary. Because obviously I feel like where we're at right now, that ball really got rolling at Slammiversary. The famous low blow on Joe Hendry and eliminating him from that championship picture. Do you feel like after that, but in that moment, do you feel like you became a heel? Do you feel like you turned there? Was it something more along the lines of like, this is kind of what I'm owed? How are you kind of feeling in that moment, and what really led to that?
I don't feel like I'm a heel per se, but the fans can react however they want to make me whatever they want. I just feel like I reached my breaking point at Slammiversary with coming up my home country, wearing the maple leaf on my singlet, loud and proud about being a Canadian, born and bred professional wrestler for the past 19 years. I think this country has produced some of the best professional wrestlers in the game for the past 40, 50 years. And you can argue with me, but we can name them all right now, or you could just agree with me. But I'm in that crowd, and I came out in my home country to challenge for the world championship, and the fans did not give me the reception I think I've earned by spilling my blood, sweat, and tears in this TNA ring for the past 5 years. And, it just eats away at me show after show after show. And I see the popularity. I'm not delusional. I know how popular Joe Hendry is. I know he's drawn in some new eyes to TNA. But just to see people, not give me my flowers for my hard work, it finally, it's going to eat away at anybody. And when he put down Moose, I was there watching as he pinned him, and I heard and saw the crowd. And, I think I did Joe Hendry a favor in that moment because I don't think Joe Hendry's up to being in the main event and being a world champion. I think you have to be prepared for anything. I think I know more than anybody, being the longest reigning world champion in this company's history. And Joe Hendry was not ready for me in that moment, clearly. So, I taught Joe a very valuable lesson, and hopefully, he takes it. He understands that, he belongs exactly where he is in the mid card, you know, with his catchphrase, cutting his promos, getting the crowd behind him, selling t-shirts. But you have to be a different breed of animal to be in these main events against killers, show in and show out. And Joe Hendry might be able to reach the mountaintop and be a world champion. It will not happen as long as I'm in this company.
Well, it's funny how you brought up, the like reactions from fans, because even in this most recent promo of yours, talking about, Nick Nemeth, and we'll get to him in a second. But like
Yeah.
the reactions when you are like you're making valid points in the ring, and
Mm-hmm.
you can hear the crowd like completely behind you. Like, yeah, that's right. You've been the face of TNA and da da da. And then like as soon as he comes into the conversation, then it becomes like an almost like a popularity contest. It removes all of the things, and then it's like, boo, like how dare you? You were making very good sense 5 seconds ago, but all that's thrown out the window right now. So it is really interesting to see. Like, I don't think the crowd and I don't think the fans have actually made up their mind either way. I think it's very ambiguous right now. But I think also that's kind of when wrestling is at its best to a degree too, when that blending of you don't really know. There's no, to quote a Mass Effect thing, there's no Paragon Renegade. It's all this mixed mesh, and it's great. So I think that's actually what's part of what's working here. But one of the things you pointed out was how you really have, and I know a lot of people use that as like an easy thing to say, an easy thing to throw in of like, oh, I've had this company on my back, or oh, I've been kind of the face of it. But there's a lot of truth in those words with you. I mean, you were the face, the champion of TNA, and your story was central to, the biggest storylines there going, and you didn't lose the title. You know what I mean? So there is a lot of like credence there, and I think that's what's making this a very intriguing story. But I also think there's a lot of truth in what you're saying. I mean, I feel like that's resonating on screen as well for you.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not delusional. I'm a very like, I'll look in the mirror and see my reflection and judge myself, every single time. But I go out there with my head held high. I tell the truth. And, people might say it's my truth, but I don't think a lot of people can disagree with it. Everything I said, like you said, had valid points. I feel like just the respect from the fans has kind of wavered a long time because there's a new flavor of the month coming in, be it a Joe Hendry or a Nick Nemeth or whoever else, comes in. And I get that. You want to be excited. There's fresh faces, there's fresh matchups, there's all these things going on. But you can't forget about the people along the way that kept these doors open so these people would have somewhere to be, right now. And I think I'm that guy. When I say I put the company on my back, that's something I'm very proud of. And for anybody to try to disagree with that or say that, I'm blowing things out of proportion or anything like that, I think they had not watched TNA closely enough over the past 5 years because nobody was stepping in the ring going 60 plus minutes during COVID with no crowd. I was the one that, stepped up and, did that and loved it. I felt like there was an opportunity handed to me on a silver platter at the time. And I was so excited for that opportunity because I knew it was a springboard for my career, and it did exactly that. You know, uh, Defending the world championship for nearly a year against like a murderer's row. Every single time my music hit before I went out, I was having this inner monologue between, TNA fan Josh, who doesn't believe you're even in this position, being like, oh man, can you do this? That's Bully Ray out there. And then Josh Alexander, the current ones in his head fighting him off, being like, you have worked your ass off for this. You have been in the ring with like, Christian Cage and Eric Young and all these people. You can go out there and kick this guy's ass. You're the walking weapon. You're the standard. You're the heart and soul of this company. You go out there and defend this title and bring this company to new heights. That was something I took a lot of pride in. And, when the championship was taken away from me from injury, not because of any professional wrestler being better than me, that's something that just, ups the ante on that. And to see where the company is now doing some record houses, all-time popularity growing, it's just snowballing show after show. We're in front of amazing crowds, and just to see these new fans come in and, not give me the respect I think I deserve. That's where I take exception. And I'm going to make examples out of their favorites. Unfortunately for Joe, that's him.
And also some sick burns along the way. The social media game is good right now, I gotta say. It's been good stuff. And that brings us to Nemeth. And you're right. TNA has, I feel like, been on this just huge, very slow and steady upward swing for a couple of years now. But then, of course, the TNA part of it coming back into it, kind of giving this new foundation to really jump off of, and that's brought a whole new wave of that. And it also brings new talent in, other names, all of that. And I do feel like there is something of like, especially you coming off of an injury already, which is something even on its own, you take all the other stuff out, that's always kind of a harder thing to try and get back in the mix and get yourself back there. And then you have all these new names kind of taking all of that spotlight. I imagine it can kind of be like, hey, don't forget, about that. And for Nick, obviously he's had fan momentum, on his side coming in, winning the title. You have been very clear about where you see him in the ladder of things, names like transitional champion, sports entertainer have been used, right? And it's, is there anything personal there with you and Nick, or is it really just to quote, hip hop? Is it all on wax? Is it very much just like, hey, this is just where you just happen to be the person who has my title at this moment in time? Or is it more personal than that?
No, he's the guy that has the championship, and when he won the championship, like he eliminated me at Slammiversary. That's a very unpredictable match with 6 people involved, and he took me out. And there's an air, like a little personal thing when that happens. But after the match, he grabbed that championship and he said he was going to bring that title to new heights and bring this company to new heights and all that stuff. And I just felt like in that moment, with me walking to the back, that's something that's the title that belongs to me, whether it's the championship or not. I'm the heart and soul of this company. I'm the standard of TNA, and he's new here. He might not know, so I'm just going to have to remind him. I'm going to have to let him know exactly who I am. I'm a different animal in that ring. He has been a professional wrestler, for 20 years. He spent 19 years in WWE in that system. He was a sports entertainer for 19 years. I have been a professional wrestler for 19 years, traveling the world, making my name all over the place on the independents in TNA. And I just think I'm a different beast. I grew up admiring the likes of the Bryan Danielsons and the AJ Styles and Alex Shelley's, the people that really, took a lot of pride in this game and went all over and learned different styles and wrestled different people, to really test themselves. And, Nick Nemeth has not done that. He's doing it now, but the stopping block is going to be me. And that's this Thursday night when I take that world championship from him.
Well, now I was gonna ask that. That's a perfect segue because obviously we have that match happening, which is huge. It's a pay-per-view worthy match on a week TV show, right? On a weekly TV show. So that's huge. For your I know that probably expediency is probably favored, right? You would love to be champion sooner than later, but is there, for Bound for Glory is not that far away. And do you kind of look at that as like a dream scenario? Like, would you rather go into that pay-per-view as champion, or would you, in some kind of, if you could have your druthers and kind of build things as you want to, win the title there? What would be your dream scenario for that?
Well, you talk about legacy. So, things that you can look back on when your career is done, where your name, is etched in the history books. I am the longest reigning tag team champion in this company's history. I had a historic run as X Division champion, and then I went into the history books again as being the longest reigning world champion in this company's history. There's one more thing that I can put on that history books for Josh Alexander, and that's main eventing my fourth straight Bound for Glory. And the only person that's done that in TNA history is the icon Sting. So that's why I need to take that world championship sooner than later to guarantee that main event spot to be in the history books alongside Sting.
Yeah, elite company. And you never go wrong when you're in a record book with Sting.
Exactly.
And one thing I obviously wanted to mention is because you guys before Bound for Glory hits, you guys are headed back to Louisville. And it's been cool to see TNA constantly moving around and especially with the new product, with the new TNA and everything moving into places that only previously knew Impact, or even some who were like big fans of TNA and then it went to Impact and now it's back. And so people, it's just like kind of bringing a whole new generation of fans every place you guys go. Any fond memories of Louisville come to mind, and you guys are stepping back over there soon?
I wrestled for 100 plus minutes in 2 days there, a year and a half ago. I successfully defended my world championship against Frankie Kazarian. And one that's regarded as one of my best title defenses that goes up there. It's one of the hardest fought matches I've ever had. And then the very next night, that's when I went 59 minutes and 50 seconds with Mike Bailey, successfully defending my world championship. So this all happened, at Forrester's old Paris Town Hall, and for Emergence and the TV tapings the next day. I'm just eager to see which people are going to step up, and I'm going to have to defend this world championship against right now.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's going to hold a lot of memories, but hopefully will also hold some big new ones as well. And that's right here. Two quick ones. I know I need to let you go soon, but two quick ones. One that's very much a parent question, because D23 just hit. Disney had all their big rollout of stuff that's coming back. And I don't know about you, but like for me with her, there's a lot of these franchises that I either grew up with, like when I was a kid or younger, and like we'll say things, or she'll be like, "Oh, what's that?" And because it's just not in the current mainstream or whatever, and I'll be like, "Oh man!" Like I'll go and sometimes I'll go and show her like the original, and sometimes it like clicks, but sometimes it doesn't, because I have nostalgia tied to that and she doesn't. And so it's cool when like, Lilo and Stitch is getting like a live action remake, and I'm like, oh man, like you get to have your own little version of Stitch running around. Snow White's coming back with a new thing, right? We just watched Snow White today because they announced it, because she was all about it, and now she has a doll and everything. So it's cool to see that. It's still cool. I am hoping personally for Oliver and Company or a Great Mouse Detective. Someone needs to get to work on that, because those are two fantastic movies that need their shine, and this whole new generation doesn't know anything about them. For you, is there a franchise? It doesn't have to be Disney, by the way. It can be anything. But is there a franchise, a movie, or a TV show that you would kind of like to see brought back into the limelight because you would like your kids to have that appreciation for it that you did, and it's just not out there?
Well, like I love Fantastic Four, and not for the not for the sake of any films that have been made, really, but I'm really eager and excited to see if they can pull off a really good Fantastic Four film. And I know that was announced with this latest rollout.
Yeah.
So that'd be really cool. But for me, it's always Star Wars, man. I grew up with those three tapes, and I just watched them. Like when I was 5 years old, I was watching the original Star Wars like every day when I came home from school and was allowed to watch TV. And my kids, being 6.5 and 9.5, they have not been interested in these old films because they don't look as cool as anything that comes out today, right?
Yeah.
They'd rather watch homemade YouTube videos than this stuff. And I get it. But luckily, my 9.5-year-old, he's just like he told me the other day, he was like, "Can we start watching all these Star Wars all the way through?" And I was like, "Absolutely," you know what I mean? So I just hope there's a hook for my 6.5-year-old that's going to get him into that, along the way, because Star Wars has been like the only really, I guess, like nerdy thing other than wrestling I've really been into through and through throughout my whole life. So
Yeah. No. And then you have to have the first conversation of why is it on a tape? What is that? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I still call it home video in articles today. And I'm like, it's not home video anymore. It's all digital. It's whatever. But some stuff just sticks. It sticks in the brain. And another thing real quick, you are, speaking of like face of TNA, you are in the first wave of Power Town Wrestling's TNA Ultras figures. What did you think of the figure when you first saw it or anything?
well, I first saw the figure and I was like, damn, that looks really good. You know what I mean? Like I'm 20 something years away from playing with action figures now, in my mid 30s. But back when I used to play with them, you would get some like really horrible WCW figures like that didn't look the part whatsoever. I remember I talked to Brian Myers about this. I was like, I had this one Taz figure and everything like was movable, so I could do every move and every submission with him. And he was like, he named the exact like lot number and everything it came from
Of
for
course
like
he
the
did.
original ECW thing, like this, right? And I was just like that's what I want. And he's like, that's what these ones kind of are, and they have like different hands and heads and whatever. And I'm just like, that's pretty cool. And it really sunk in when I showed my son Jet, and he was just like, "Can I get it? Can I get it now?" And I was like, "Well, you're gonna have to wait like however many months it takes for us to get it, but I'll for sure be getting you one." So he's hyped, and that makes me hyped as a dad, right?
Yeah, no, it's got a cool thing, and yeah, it looks fantastic. So I know that first one. I mean, great wave, Jordan Grace, Moose, Eddie Edwards. Who's your, if you could pick a wave two, because you're in it now, you're good, right? You're secure in that way. Who's your wave two? You got four choices.
Oh my goodness. Well, I would say Frankie Kazarian, Santana, for sure. Santana's come into TNA and just been like on fire the entire time, and his popularity's there. Uh, Throw Joe Hendry in there. He should have an action figure since he's never going to have a world championship. And you know, maybe can I pick a tag team?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's put Spitfire in there. I love the stuff they've been doing lately, and I want to see some knockouts get some love too for those action figures. So
Great pick. Yes, that's a fantastic lineup there. So yeah, Power Time, if you're listening, hey, here's some golden ideas here. All right, man. Well, I know I need to let you go. I appreciate all the time, as always, and all the best success, man. Soon you just maybe next time we meet, you'll be having that title gold over your shoulder. So
it's not maybe, it's when.
all right, that's a win.
All
That's
right.
right. I'll catch you later, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Wow.